Alright, I'm going to try and float that tarp off of there. Alright. Kenny will show you how sturdy this thing is. It has a heartbeat. In the wind it kind of wobbles. Alright, well we got half the roof taken off approximately, so we're almost ready to disassemble the walls. Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to take down the rest of the beams, and we're stacking them inside on the mezzanine. When we get the walls down to mezzanine level, we'll just hand the beams down onto the pallet. Probably would be the best way to do it. Yeah, looks good. Some of that pine is good for shelving and whatnot. It was glued and nailed, tongue and groove, so, and it was glued to the rafters. Anyway, yeah, it didn't come off particularly well, but there's still a lot of usable material in there. Yeah, so I just go up on the ladder and I pop those out with the hammer. Kenny stays on the mezzanine inside and takes the other end, and I lower mine onto the little scaffold in there on a rope. Oh, that might be Kenny now. Oh, he's a glutton for punishment. He came back. Well, I guess we're taking beams down now. Yeah, man. Well, we got the roof and the knee walls down. Gables are gone, windows stored under there. Everything in a nice neat pile over there. I'm going to work on the mezzanine. The tongue and groove is nailed down, so it'll take a little bit of monkeying around to get that peeled up, and then the rest should just pop apart. So far so good. Very few cracked pieces or anything like that. If they are, they're just tiny little blocks that were glued on. So we got half the mezzanine down. I'm kind of lucky because it's only face nailed. I think it's only 4 nails in every third board. So I'm able to pry it up with the hammer. And I'm really lucky because they put all these nails right in the crack, so they come out super easy. Just like that. Kind of what you don't want when you're doing tongue and groove pine, or tongue and groove anything. You put the nail in here, the finishing nail, and you go into the wood, not into the crack. Crack is bad. So you drive your nail in there and you punch it in with a punch. And then the next one goes on and you don't see any of your nails. And it keeps your rows all tight together. But that's a lesson for reassembly. There you go. They just come apart like that. So that one with the nails, I just bang the nails back through and pull them out and keep stacking. I'm by myself right now, so I don't know how I'm going to get these beams down, but I'll figure it out. Some kind of MacGyver. Lots of woodpeckers out today. I'm using Kenny's magic bar to pop these out. It seems to work alright. Nice angle on it. It hit something straight up, which is great. So that's one side. It's just probably going to flop over right where it is. Ooh. A bit tighter. There we go. I don't have room to swing it down in here, so I'm going to just send it over the end. I did one already. I can carry it from there. Well, it's coming down. Row by row, just take it apart. These would be my toughest ones. And you just give them a little wiggle, wiggle. Just wiggle, wiggle. And they come right apart. There we go. So, just take it apart row by row. Like these ones in between the windows. They just lift right out. That's all there is to it. So, look at how friggin' drafty that window would have been. Horrible. Just freeze your ass off windows. God, the more I look at this thing, the madder I get. People actually get paid to build these things and sell them to people. Look at that. They just take it apart. I'm surprised. Pardon me. I'm surprised it lasted the winter. Yeah. So I'm going to take this corner down and then pull that window out. Pull this window out. You just lift them out. They're not screwed in. They're not glued in. They're not foamed or anything like that. So anyway, just keep wiggling boards and up they come. Put them in a pile. Not saying that this isn't usable, but not without major upgrades like framework, a floor, a foundation. You'll lose probably a foot. If you do 2x6 walls inside of here, you'll lose a foot of space. I would eliminate that overhang too and just put the gable right over top the door. Then you don't have to insulate the outside of the overhang. Like it's flimsy. Anyway, it's getting dark. I'm going to keep at it. I should be able to get this thing all down and stacked tonight. Done. Piled and tarped. I'm gonna take that last row off. Kind of screwed down some other how. Figure it out in the morning. Goodness. Well, I got it all cleaned off. I'm trying to take this first row off in the plate. This is how many screws are holding it on just from underneath. All these ones, I already put them in the bag. And all these ones. These are the ones that were holding it from underneath. So there's no way that first row would have come off of there. But the rest of the building could just still lift straight up and off in the wind. Wow. That's why they didn't have any screws. They used them all in the first row. So I'm going to be busy here for a while. Now, because all the weight was on this wall, and this wall had no support underneath it, you can see right here where the framework here is going straight through past the plywood. There's nothing under here to hold it. It even broke that little piece of 1 by whatever that is there. 1 by 2. This would have been a disaster a year from now. Got a big pile of cabin over there. Playhouse. The neighbors stopped in yesterday and they said, "You're right, it's cute." That's about all they had to say. They just shook their head. They're like, "No way. You can't live in something like this as it is in the winter up here. You'll just die." Anyway, I'm sure that wasn't their intent, so we're going to fix them up. I don't even know if these are, doesn't look like they're really nailed down to anything. They're screwed down. This is about the flimsiest thing I've ever seen. Next to that guy's plastic tent on the internet. He's camping in a tent made out of like clear plastic. Anyway, you gotta kind of wonder why. But he's probably rich and I'm not, and that's why. So I've got probably 200 screws to take out of the perimeter of this thing by the look of it. And then this last row should come off. I'm getting close though, because it's rattling now. Alright, a little good news. Had a whole whack of screws all along the 2 sides, but then this side here doesn't have anything in it. And none of these are screwed down to the plywood or the framework underneath, so a few more screws in the front and then I think I'll have it. Wow, look at me go from the back to the front. Yay. Well, got all the insulation off from the 2x4s. I don't know how well this is screwed down. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of screws in it anywhere. Nope. Pretty loose. Oh yeah, there's only about half a dozen screws in each sheet. And they put all the joints in the inner row. I guess that's probably the easiest way, but it ain't right. That's tongue and groove. Goes on a certain way for strength. See, this is all busted off here. This whole front thing was just folding down and breaking off. The front of the building would have collapsed. And the middle is really high. If you look across it, right where that joint is over there, it's really high. She was sinking. I think those posts probably did okay. They're adjustable as far as I know. but they didn't even have a beam in here. Any kind of a beam. Oh, it's back there somewhere. Oh, I see. How fancy. Alright. Well, I gotta get the plywood off and then see what the hell's underneath it. I think they only put a beam every 4 feet. So when you walk on it, see this? That's the floor. That's what your house is sitting on. And same with here. This is what all the weight of the house is sitting on that, on the gable. Yeah, all along. See, it's just, you shouldn't be able to do that. Every one of these panels is sagged in the middle and high right here at all the joints. Would have been a disaster. Look at this. Gang, 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 gang. Holy shit. Oh, unreal. It's like peeling an onion and expecting it to get better with a rotten onion. It just keeps getting worse the further in you go, so anyway, better to eat shit now instead of eat more later. So I got all the flooring off. Turns out it's these little panels they make. They put a piece of 1x2 and they staple it to the plywood, and of course it just falls off like a little staple in it. And then some tin foil bubble wrap looking crap on the other side. One section was just full of water. I guess it had rained or something leaked over the winter. So I'm down to the frame or whatever you want to call it of this thing. I'm going to undo all these lag screws. I don't even know if these are screwed in. Yeah, there's a little 1 screw, 2 screw, and they should just lift right out of there. Yeah, so there was nothing in between any of these beams for support for a floor. It would have been one giant trampoline, or 8 trampolines. I just undid these 2 screws, one on each side, same as over here. I thought they'd be screwed some other way, but nope, just lift right out. So that's all that's holding the floor and the walls up in between these beams is 2 screws. And this little wee tiny joist hanger right here doesn't even come up to here. Normally they come up to the height of the material you're using. So that's it. These beams aren't even really screwed together. You can see daylight through them. Probably about 12 screws in each side. Well, I'm down to the beams. Last grunt work of the day. I got to carry those over and put them on the pile. Then I'm out of here. Well, there we go. Racked and stacked.